Hi, my name is Pat Henry. If you are watching this video, there's a high likelihood that you have either recently or in the past purchased a pool, or we've built the pool in your backyard. What we've tried to do today is go through a couple of different segments of owning a pool and just basically getting you familiar with the idea of owning a pool. This little video is not going to address every single potential problem on a pool, but what it will do is hopefully not have you be afraid of the pool. It'll be broken down into 3 or 4 different segments: the cover, the equipment, chemicals, and vacuuming the pool. Most of you have automatic cleaners, so you probably will never vacuum a pool in your life. If you do run into an issue with any of these things, we always encourage people to give us a call. We've got a staff that's very, very welcoming and helping people with questions that they have, and you're never the first one that asks that question. Most of them have been around 20 years plus with me, and they are very knowledgeable with questions from people that are recently or just new to owning a swimming pool. The first thing I would like to talk about is the auto cover. These auto cover / safety covers are on the vast majority of pools built in the last 20 years, so it's not an uncommon thing. What you're looking at here is a fabric that goes over the water and keeps children, pets, varmints out of getting in the pool for safety reasons. If there's water built up on the pool, it's no longer a safety cover. These are not porous, so the water that lands on them via rain has to be pumped off. This is probably the single most important thing to remember on a cover. Certain things are not going to be covered under warranty. Small children, babysitters, neighbors, and old people, present company excluded. What will happen is you have to pump the water off of these things, and that pump will be provided when we install the cover. It's an automatically activated type pump that you can either hook a hose to, or they make these little S-curve squirter things that's they work pretty well also. Then you don't have all this hose to deal with. The other reason that it's important besides safety is simply that water weighs about 8.5 pounds per gallon. These covers are not designed to lift hundreds of gallons of weight off of the end of the pool, no matter who built it. So what happens here is this cover is down about 5 to 6 inches below the top of the pool edge. When it gets to this end, it has to pull that cover off of there. All these covers are approximately 1 foot wider than the actual pool width. So like this, if you have an 18-foot pool, that fabric's actually 19 feet wide. It has to pucker up and then get on that drum that's only 18 feet. When doing that, you trap any water that's coming off of there and basically have to deadlift it off of the thing. When a cover comes off of a pool, there's a mechanism below the concrete here, the pavers. It has a drum that will actually be rolling it up and pulling the cover off. As it does that, there are ropes that go back down the opposite end that stay attached to 2 pulleys down here. What happens then, if you go to put the cover on the pool and something isn't quite right, these ropes, they're made to actually break under too much stress before they rip the thing apart. And anyway, bottom line is get the water off this cover before you try operating it. Now, when you go to put the cover back on the pool, sometimes you're going to find that that leading edge, which is that piece at the far end, okay, that's what the cover attaches to, and that's what just keeps it out of the water as it comes back or goes back on the pool. When that happens, they may get a little bit out of whack by 1 inch or 2. If that starts to happen, stop what you're doing, running it back the opposite direction. Generally speaking, run it 3 or 4 feet opposite and you'll rectify the situation. Most of those issues tend to occur putting the cover back on the pool. The reason for that is that the rope reels are on one end of the pool. That end has a shorter rope than the opposite end of the mechanism. Consequently, you experience a little more stretch in that side of the rope. It isn't difficult, but try to keep the water off of them before operating. That doesn't mean you have to go out there with a dish towel and get every ounce off it, but you should not have pooling water when that thing comes back at the mechanism. You want to go ahead and take it off the pool, Bobby? Okay. Another tip, do not take a power washer to one of these covers. If you must clean it or you want to clean it, the best way of cleaning it is after a rainfall, just take your pool brush and kind of push all the dirt toward the pump and just pump it off the top of it. Now that the cover's off the pool, you can actually see the water. I didn't want to bring this up before because you couldn't actually see what I was talking about, but probably the other thing, the second most important thing with these auto covers that affects their operation, and which in turn their longevity, is keeping the water up high enough in the pool, because if you think about it, it reduces the friction because there's more fabric up higher toward the tracks. Keep the water 2/3 of the way up in the skimmer. I know there's little arrows in the middle of every skimmer that everybody thinks that's where you should keep the water. Don't. Keep it at the first screw down, which is about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way full. Any fuller than that, and what happens, there's a little trapdoor called a weir inside the skimmer, and that won't float down to trap the cottonwood that you may see on this. That's what keeps the stuff going into the basket of the skimmer, which we'll get to in a moment. But anyway, keep the water off the top of the thing. Keep the water level at a good operating height in the pool to make it easier for that fabric to rewind back on the mechanism.